Good afternoon to everybody. As you can see, I was drawn. My neshama brought me back to shul to give this drasha. Been waiting weeks, months, but something this Shabbos specifically brought me back to the main shul. As you can see where I am, unfortunately missing all of you. I'm talking to a empty shul without an audience, but I know you're listening, and that certainly inspires me. But at least I hope you could feel connected to me here in shul. I know just being in shul, in and of itself, is something that's so moving for me. B'ezras Hashem, it should be b'karov that slowly we are able to return in a safe and appropriate way. I'd like to dedicate this Shabbos drasha to Refuah Shlema for our very dear Rabbi Avram Landesman, Avraham ben Sarah, and I hope you are listening, Rabbi Landesman. We're all with you. We're so sorry that we can't be with you, sitting with you bedside in the hospital, but please know how much we are thinking of you, davening for you. This evening at 8 o'clock, we have a special Zoom Tehillim, and we are encouraged by the reports that we are getting, and we will continue to be mispalel, to daven, and we hope and we pray that you will be back with us very, very shortly. We are living in unprecedented times. Every day you read the newspaper, you watch the news, it's history being made daily, hourly. Everything is different. So many of us feel that the country is imploding or exploding. There's such volcanoes and tornadoes that are taking place. We all are nervous, we're scared what's going to be, what's happening. Frightening times, historic times, times that our children and grandchildren will read about. History is being made as we speak, and we are living through it and watching things happen and unravel in unprecedented speed. And day after day, new events and things that are happening that are just catching our attention, and we don't know what to do with it. I'd like to try to give some sort of perspective, thoughts, ideas, food for thought, to contemplate and to know how to deal with the times, the news, the situation that we are faced with on a daily basis. Parshas Naso has so much to share, so much to offer, but I'd like to focus on two Parshios specifically and one Rashi in particular. Parshas Nazir and Parshas Sotah, the Parsha of the Sotah, the wayward wife, and the Nazir, the individual who takes upon himself a more spiritual existence by not drinking wine, are juxtaposed. And famously, Rashi quotes the Gemara in Sotah and asks, Lama nismucha Parshas Nazir the Parsha Sotah? Why is the Parsha of the Nazir juxtaposed to the Parsha of the Sotah? And Rashi says, Kol haroeh Sotah b'kil kula yazir atzmo min hayayin. Anybody who sees the experience of the Sotah, the wayward wife who is suspicious and have acted in an unfortunate, inappropriate way, and her husband suspects her of having an illicit relationship out of marriage. She's brought to the Beis HaMikdash, and a miraculous thing happens. If she is found innocent, she will have a child. If she's found guilty, her stomach, her innards will explode. One of the only miraculous events to decide and decipher halacha that's found in the Torah. And that experience is awesome to see. It's majestic. It's miraculous. Here it is, this woman who acts inappropriately and deals with the situation in an unfortunate way. And when you see what occurs to her, when you're eyewitness to that event. So the Torah tells us, and Chazal explain, Yazir atzmon min hayayin, such a person should abstain from then on for drinking wine for a particular amount of time. Mefarshei Rashi and Shas question, wonder, what is it about this juxtaposition specifically that causes somebody to stop and abstain from drinking wine? Seemingly the experience of seeing the miracle of either childbirth or death should be something that's so phenomenal that once you see that, you'll be so overwhelmed, so taken, that you don't need to do anything else. That in and of itself should draw a person closer to God. You should become a greater Yorei Shamayim. You should become a greater Ohev Hashem. Such a person should see that experience and be so moved that one's experience in religion and in Yiddishkeit will be so passionate as a result. But nonetheless, the Torah says, Yazir atzmo min hayayin. You should abstain at that moment from drinking wine. And the question is, why? I once saw a classic pshat in the Gemara and in Rashi is that often we live life experiences. We see things happening, we read the news, we're watching current events, history unfolding before our eyes, and we should be so moved by it, so taken, so shocked. But somehow, slowly, the natural psyche of man begins to dissipate, and we take things for granted and we're not moved. Thus, what the Chazal are telling us is when you see and experience something awesome and majestic, do something about it. Bottle up, grab it, and take something on. Thus, the Sotah experience allows a person to be able to see something so phenomenal that you become a Nazir. You concretize it, you grab that moment, and you do something with it. And it's not enough just to see something, because you could see something and the experience can go. Just look back in Sefer Shmos after Kriyas Yamsuf, Vayelchu Shloshes Yamim V'lo Matzu Mayim. Here was the greatest event in the history of the Jewish people. They saw Kriyas Yamsuf, the sea split. Rashivcha Layam Mashalor Yecheskel Ben Buzi. And the average individual Jew who saw and who witnessed Kriyas Yamsuf saw greater than the great prophet Yecheskel, but 3 days later, by Yisraelinu, the people complained and they kvetched, but how could it be? They just saw Kriyas Yamsuf, it was unbelievable. Like the Sotah. If you don't bottle up the experience, and if you don't look and recognize what happened at Kriyas Yamsuf, it will dissipate, it will just go away, it will fall off by the wayside. I once read about Reb Shimon Schwab, that he was traveling in Germany, he went to the Swiss Alps, could be it was Rav Hirsch this was said about, and upon reaching the top of a beautiful mountain and seeing an incredible landscape, went into his pocket, took out his sucking candy, and said, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech ha'olam shehakol niyeh b'dvaro. And he put the candy in his mouth and took the sucking candy. And they asked, Rabbi Hirsch, what are you doing? Explain to us, why did you wait to get up to the top of the mountain to take out the sucking candy and to make a brach of shehakol niyeh b'dvaro? So he explained that I'm seeing something phenomenal and I'm moved and it's amazing. And I'm seeing Yad Hashem and HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'chvod v'atzmi in an incredible way. I need to do something about it. So I'm going to make a shehakol. I'm going to take advantage of that experience. And thus I made a shehakol to sort of concretize the experience that I feel. And that's what happens every year in Simchas Torah. We're so moved by the energy of finishing Chamisha Chumshei Torah. But immediately right after Parshas Bar Elokim, right away we start the Chumash again. And right after Shavuos, we get right back into Parshas Naso. And the Sfas Emes explains that that's the reason why that's the majority, the longest amount of Midrashim and Zohar is found in Parshas Naso, is because the excitement, the enthusiasm of the Yontav Shavuos, Matan Torasenu, penned and forced the Tanoim to write so much more because they were so moved by the experience. You need to concretize it and bottle it up. And thus Parshas Naso is the longest Parsha with so much material in Chazal. Because when something majestic, awesome happens, you need to bottle it up and do something about it. That's how I feel now. There are things happening. We are watching and seeing things that we've never seen before, at least in our lifetime. But what do we do? How do we bottle it up? How do we grab the moment that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was talking to us in very powerful ways? In this country and throughout the world, things are happening that we've never experienced or seen, that we only read about 50, 100, 200 years ago. But it's happening to us. Hashem is talking to us. And when one thing stops, something else begins. And we're asking ourselves, what's next? And where are we going to head it from here? And what's happening? How do we bottle up this experience? The same failure of Klal Yisrael after Kriyas Yamsuf, of complaining and kvetching after witnessing the greatest miracle. We can't allow that to happen. And the same way that the experience, the one who witnessed the Sotah needed to be bottled up and create the Nazir, we too have to figure out a way to bottle up what we're seeing, experiencing, feeling. There's so many emotions. There's so many things happening. We're talking, we're seeing, we're watching, we don't know what to do with it. I don't have the answer. We're not Nevi'im, not B'nai Nevi'im, and nobody can tell us what we're supposed to do and how we're supposed to bottle it up. But let me give you something to think about. Food for thought. In that very same Rashi says, when you see the Sotah, Yazir atzmo min hayayin, you abstain from wine. Why wine? Why Nazir specifically? Why do I stay away from wine? In the Sefer Chidushei Lev, the late Rosh Yeshiva of the Chavetz Chaim Yeshiva, Reb Henoch Leibowitz, Zichrono Livracha, commented that when one is in a situation of danger, sakana. We'll do everything and anything we can to make sure that we are far removed from the danger. Whatever the danger may be, we're nervous, we're concerned, we're going to be extraordinarily careful. Right now, if it's 6 feet that we should distance socially, we should distance 8 or 10 feet socially. If you're able to go back to shul, we'll wait a week or 2 weeks. We want to be extra careful and cautious, and it's the right thing to do, and that's what we're doing, that's what we should do. And therefore, we're taking the most stringent and the most severe approach to dealing with this virus. That's what you do when you're in a situation of sakana. Rashi says the same thing is true when it comes to spiritual danger. If a person sees the experience of the Sotah, this woman who acted inappropriately, in a very illicit way and out of marriage relationship, and you see that experience of what occurs to her, the automatic reaction is spiritually, I need to do something. I need to respond, and I also have to act extraordinarily extreme. And therefore, I abstain from drinking wine because I don't want to get in trouble. I need to be careful. And even though maybe it's not the most logical thing to do, and maybe it's an extreme thing to do, I have to be careful. And I think one of the things that we're all watching and fulfilling and experiencing is being very cautious and careful with making sure that we are not infected and we don't affect others. It's the wrong thing to do. Chalila lo aleinu, if somebody has an infection, you stay away. And we chalila don't want to be the ones who are responsible for causing somebody else to be sick. And we need to be careful and cautious about that. But it made me realize, are we just as cautious and careful about danger that's spiritual? Are we careful about how we are dealing with our daily activities in the world of ruchnius? Tefillah, Torah, Chesed, mitzvos, asayes, and los asayes. Are we creating boundaries? Are we establishing limits? 6 feet, 10 feet, 1 week, 2 weeks. Those things we are doing are very important to do because we're taking care of our guf. And we must, we have to live and we have to take care of ourselves. That's the halacha and that's the mitzvah. But are we being just as careful and cautious, meticulous about our neshama? Are we being just as careful and cautious about not looking where we shouldn't look, or making sure that we're paying attention to the things that we have to pay attention to? Chavetz Chaim once made a clip in his shul and his yeshiva and said he had an important announcement to make. And he came to the bima, and you can imagine when the Chavetz Chaim said he had an important shir, drasha to make, the room was packed. Chavetz Chaim, what's he going to say? And he came up to the bima, he took out a siddur and he opened up the first or the second page of the siddur and he started reading, Elokai, Neshama shenasata bi tahorhi. The Neshama Kadosh Baruch Hu that you gave me is tahor. Ata varasa, ata yatzarata, ata nafachta bi. You, Kadosh Baruch Hu, created me with a pure, beautiful, delicious, clean Neshama. V'ata asi litla mimeni. And you, Kadosh Baruch Hu, eventually will take it away from me. And my job, said the Chavetz Chaim, is to return the neshama as pristine and as perfect and as tar and as kadosh as it was when I received it, and return it to a Kadosh Baruch Hu the same way. The Chavetz Chaim got down, he said nothing else, he simply read the bracha of Elokai Neshama. A powerful bracha that we have to inculcate and recognize we are a neshama. We have to take care of our guf and we have to take care of our neshama. Both are important. But ha b'lo ha lo sagi, one without the other is missing something. We need to recognize and contemplate and concretize that we are a chelek elokami mal, we are a neshama. And the same way that now we are experiencing challenges and we're staying far away from them. We're removing ourselves from society, we're distancing, we're quarantining. Whatever the situation is, at the same time we have to separate and be careful and make sure to take just as good care of our neshamas. The focus so much is on the guf, and rightfully so, v'chai b'hem. But are we also paying attention to our neshama? Are we also making sure that we're taking good care of our soul? It's real, it's tangible, it's physical. We say the bracha, Elokai neshama shenasata b'torei, ata v'rasa ata yatzarta ata nafachta bi, v'ata neshama b'kirbi, v'ata asid litla mimeni lachzir b'ilasi love. You're going to take it away and give it back to me, and that's what we're going to be left with. Are we taking care of the neshama? Are we feeding the neshama? Are we giving and nurturing the neshama properly? through Torah and Tefillah, through mitzvos and ma'asim tovim. That's how it's nourished. That's how it's taken care of. We have to protect it. We have to feed it. And we have to make sure that we're treating it properly. And that's the pshat in the Rashi, Nazir atzmo min hayayin. Because when I see something that's dangerous, I run far away from it. And I'm not going to drink the wine because I don't want to get in trouble. And I need to be careful because once I saw what that happened to that woman, she was okay. She was a faithful wife. But look what happened to her. I better be careful too. And I'm not even going to drink wine because I don't know where it can lead. Let's look to think and to actively nurture, feed, care for the neshama tahora, the sweet, beautiful neshama that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us. And to make sure that the same way we're nurturing and taking care and being a good, responsible person by watching our guf. We eat properly, we exercise properly, we distance properly, we follow all the guidelines and the safeguards to the T and beyond. Let's use that as a way to recognize that we should also be just as cautious, careful with the neshama, with the precious neshama that we have. I wish you a wonderful Shabbos. I hope you're doing great, dear friends. I hope you're taking care of yourselves. I hope your families are well. I hope all the children are doing well. I hope it's nice to see the shul in a certain way. And Amir Tzashem, we look forward to being back together so soon. B'karav mamish, good Shabbos to you and to Shabbos to everybody.